And you ask them, how did you prove evolution? And they said, because of one man. Who is that one man? We have proven this because of one man. Who is that one man? No! George Bush. Have you seen the similarities? If you go onto YouTube,
you can't say that because George Bush says no universe.
Yeah, that's right. It's not evolution, it's devolution. Huh? If you see the YouTube image, they have a monkey or they have George Bush and they see the gradual change. And subhanAllah, he is definitely no, Allah. We shouldn't joke about people's appearances. Evolution. The reason why evolution is not a proof that there is no God is simply because of two things. I'm going to focus on one. You know, from our perspective, they say what? You have something here, then over time there was evolution, and ultimately you came to man. There are two arguments really. Number one, you know, I don't really care about that process. Maybe it's true, who cares? We believe it's not true. But even if it's true, it doesn't disprove God. Because I don't care about this sequence. What I care about is the Jazakallah khair. What I care about is the starting point. What is the cause for that to occur? This doesn't disprove God. All you're proving to me is that there is a sequence of evolution. I'm interested in what's the cause of that evolution. That's what I want to know. And therefore this argument doesn't disprove God whatsoever. It doesn't. That's why you have Christians who believe in evolution. Christians who believe in evolution. They don't see this to be a contradiction. We don't believe in evolution because Allah says in the Quran that He created and He destroyed nations. We don't believe in this whatsoever, but the point is, this doesn't disprove that there is a God. And the second simpler argument, if you've ever seen this before, got a horse, you got a hippopotamus. 100% horse, 100% hippo. Evolution, you should have 75% horse, 25%, 50% horse, 50%, 25% horse, 75%. Meaning, you should find evidence of fossils which show you that transition, shouldn't you? Doesn't exist. For the hippo, the horse, or for the monkey to George Bush, or the other way around, you can't find it. Because that's what you should be looking for. You pick up fossils, guess what? I found fossil which shows half man, half something, half animal, half this. You should see that transition. It doesn't exist. A lot of the recent discoveries, like the Piltdown skull, was actually made in China, one of the factories. So these things are just don't prove at all evolution. Evolution doesn't disprove Allah, a creator, and neither does it prove itself. It's just an argumentation that they bring. But my question is, why do they bring these arguments? Why do they bring these counter-arguments to disprove that there is a God? Why do they feel the need to disprove that there is a God? Why do they feel the need to say there is nothing that's valid about religion? There's nothing valid about there being a creator. What's the reason they're bringing these arguments?
Simply they want to prove their own desire. That's why they do it.
And that's the very first reason. Jazakallah khair. They simply do not want to be ruled by God. They just don't want to be ruled by God. And there's two reasons for this. One, because of the history, when the West, Europe, was being ruled by the church, Christian church, and it was very oppressive. And they don't want to go to that. And they always make this point, you must separate church from politics. Archbishop wants to talk about morality, he can talk about morality until the cows come home. But he should not say anything about politics, not his business to do so. Because they have had a very bad experience. So they don't want to be ruled by God whatsoever. And secondly, because they actually enjoy their life. Because they are now God themselves. They can make their own limits. They don't have this notion there is somebody looking at me and what I do. That's why we see so much, what do we call this? Social disobedience. Children, graffiti on the wall, doing pranks, being very bad, being very immoral, because they have no concept that there is accountability for them in the akhirah. For them, they just have to dodge the law of the dunya. And they don't have the concept, actually. You may dodge the law of the dunya, but you'll never be able to dodge the law of the akhirah. And subhanAllah, very famous story. When I gave this story once in a masjid in Finchley, there were some people who had just started crying over it, and I got moved to tears. Story of this woman during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She had committed zina, not fornication, which would be 100 lashes. She actually had committed zina, which is adultery. And the punishment for adultery is what? You'd be stoned to death. She didn't have to tell Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam what she had done. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wasn't aware about it, and he sallallahu alaihi wasallam was occupied by managing the whole of the affairs of the state. What did she do? Ya Rasulullah, I've committed adultery. Rasulullah, he turned his back to her. She said, I've committed adultery. He said, go back and come to me the next day. Rasulullah then went to where she lived, spoke to the people, and said to the people, this woman so and so, hal hiya majnoona, bagala, is she crazy? Is she depressed? Is there something wrong with her? Because the principle in Islamic punishment system is, what's the concept in Islamic punishment system? Beautiful. When people know the philosophy of Islam, it's amazing. The principle in Islam is to avoid the punishment as much as possible. Yeah, the hadith of Rasulullah ﷺ narrated by Aisha, it's better not to punish the one who is guilty than punish the one who is not guilty. Meaning, avoid the punishment as much as possible. The whole idea that they have propaganda, we Muslims, we're just bloodthirsty, you don't have wrong, cut the hand of the thief. Islam, subhanAllah, completely. Rasulullah just turned his back. Asked to be sure about what she had done. She came back the very next day. She didn't have to come back the very next day. Rasulullah wasn't going to go look for her. But she herself came back the very next day. She said, I've committed adultery. He turned to the Sahaba and said, punish her. She then said, Ya Rasulullah, but I'm hamil. I'm pregnant. He says to her, go back. Once you give birth, come back to me. What did she do? She gave birth, and what did she do? She went back. She didn't have to go back. And Rasulullah wasn't going to get people to go and find her. But she came back herself. She said, I'm back. He then said to her, go back and wean your child for 2 years. Let your child have milk from you for 2 years. She went back 2 years. And what did she do after 2 years? She came back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm back. She didn't have to come back. He wasn't going to ask about her, but she came back. And then he took the Sahaba and said, punish her. And while they were punishing her, some of the blood came onto the clothes of one Sahabi, and he insulted her. And Rasul replied, her blood is pure. And the key thing, because she realized that the punishment in the dunya is nothing compared to the punishment in the akhirah. And the punishment in the dunya will act as a, what's the term? As a expiation. Jazakallah, maybe that's the right word. Will act as an expiation. Will remove her from the punishment in the akhirah. And when you think how drastic that punishment is, and still it was clear in her mind that I don't want to be punished in the akhirah for what I have done, then you realize that people who don't want to be ruled is because they want to be gods themselves. They have no concept that there is something waiting for them in the akhirah. So long as they can dodge the law, they're happy to do so. So you imagine a society which is built with that framework of thinking. If I make a mistake, it's better for me to own up now. Dad, I lied, I'm sorry. Because